You're going to borrow $950 million? Yes, unfortunately, we have to, I would answer. They would ask me, is that the largest amount of money the state of Connecticut has ever borrowed in its history? And I'd have to answer, yes, it is. They would then ask me, how are you going to pay this money back? When do you have to pay it back? And I would answer them, the plan is that for the next 2 years, we're not going to pay a nickel. No principal and no interest. Not one nickel. Raymore and Flanagan doesn't even have that kind of deal. No principal, no interest. And then starting in 2012, in a budget year that we haven't even thought about yet, we're going to have to pay back principal and interest $238 million every year until 2016. Wow, they would say to me, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that we're borrowing because you guys didn't take care of it throughout the year. And when you hear it put that way, in those simplest of terms, common sense questions, and when you hear how we have to answer them, we should be ashamed. From our perspective on this side of the aisle, that when we were going to tackle this problem, we were going to tackle it as a package. We were not only going to take care of the deficit we find ourselves with in 2009, but put together a responsible, fiscally responsible, balanced budget for 2010 and 2011. You see, you can't just isolate one part of it and then do the other. You can't do that. In fact, we're not even going to do it. We're going to wait about an hour and then handle the other part. Today, the majority party has decided we would separate those two things. But for purposes of voting on this bill before us, I cannot ignore what we are going to do in an hour. I can't ignore the fact that today not only are we going to borrow $950 million to get out of 2009's deficit, but we're also going to vote on a package that takes care of 2010 and 2011. So I got to look at it all together. I can't separate it. I got to look at it all together. And the package that's before us, that we'll be voting on in 2 hours, says we're going to have a balanced budget for 2 years. And here's how we're going to do it. In addition to the $950 million that we're borrowing to take care of 2009, we're going to borrow another $1.2 billion, $1.3 billion for 2010 and 2011. We're also going to use $1.4 billion of our rainy day fund. We're going to take $1.5 billion that the federal government's going to give us, and we're going to raise your taxes by $1 billion. That is not a package that I want to be associated with. That is not good fiscal planning. And we